everybody knows me here. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nancy from Nancy Inspired, and I have a gift that I call soul telepathy. I'm able to hear what your soul is trying to tell you. When I do a one-to-one reading, it's just for you. When I do a collective like this, it is what is the most important messaging for everybody here. And so in order to do that, I ask for permission first. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to ask, may I, and shall I do a collective reading for my Insight Timer friends and family, both those that are here now and those that listen later, because I find the numbers grow as the thing goes on. I also record the first part of the live to put up so people can review it and reflect it. And I'm getting a solid yes. Is there any reason why I shouldn't at this moment in time? And it's already shifting into a no reason why I shouldn't at this moment in time. So then I'm going to ask the energy to shift. And I'm going to ask that everybody's intuition be raised to the highest level that they can accommodate with at this moment in time. Allow their souls to speak freely and clearly for everyone's highest and best good. Wonderful. All right. And yes, Jamie, I went dancing. It was really, well, we went to something called Bingo Loco, which was a lot of fun, a little crazy, like, what, but it was a lot of fun. I have some girlfriends that we go and try different things, and we tried this, and it was pretty fun. And thank you, Caroline. I was just explaining it was my birthday this weekend, and I went out for brunch this morning with my family. And so that's why I'm dolled up. Whereas my normal Sunday attire is what you usually see. For those of you that are new here, the way the format works is the first part of the live is collective messaging. So I channel the messaging that is for everybody at this moment in time. And then the second part of the live, I stop my recording, and I also ask people to put their names forward. Don't put your name forward yet because it'll get lost in the chat. If you were here last week and I missed you, then I add your name to the top of the list because I try really hard to get to everybody. I got to everyone last week. Yay. So I always try really hard to get to everybody that wants the individual readings. And so that happens in the later part. So don't put your name in just yet. We'll just do some collective messaging and go from there. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm just checking lots of people. Hello. Mostly just hellos. Hello, everybody. And I love that you say hello to each other. I don't know if you know each other on other platforms or if we just are starting to get to know each other here. Insight Timer has opened up a retreat thing where we could do a retreat. I'm thinking of doing an online retreat where we can try and meet up like in an online platform so that we can, from the comfort of our homes, have a similar to this, but in an online form. And then I'd love to plan some retreats where I go somewhere. So if anyone has retreat ideas and would like me to join and be a collaborator, I would love to do that. And Insight Timer has a beautiful platform to allow us to advertise that. So for some reason, lives aren't showing up for me. I'm noticing, Melinda, that when I was trying to search even my own, I am trying to make some of my like free flow journal writing sessions into actual like journals that people can use. And I actually tried to search my free flow journal writer on Insight Timer, and I had a hard time finding it. So I'm not sure why I'm not easy to find, but definitely something I need to look into. So I'm sorry that if the lives aren't showing up for you. I'm not sure why that's happening, but I also experienced the same thing. All right, we're going to get get going here. All right, so I'm just going to ask for some messaging at the moment. What am I hearing for the group today? All right, it's in the heart chakra. I can feel it there. What's going on? Okay, this is relevant to my day today. So what I'm hearing is that no one's situation is absolutely perfect, right? We see a lot on social media or on television shows, whatever, these kinds of certain, this is what it's supposed to look like, right? And what I'm hearing is the idea of family. And this is really relevant for me this weekend, so maybe this is why this is coming up. Is your family, you have your blood family, you have your family that you were born into. And some of that family's great, some of that family's not so great. Some of it you connect to, some of it you don't, right? But then you also have your ability to create a chosen family. And what I'm hearing to tell us is to not underestimate your chosen family. So the people that you have chosen to keep close to you, to have around you, to be your support people, are just as important, if not more so, than even your blood family, because our blood families are what we're born into, or our situations. If you're adopted, it's what you were raised into. And I believe that it is what our soul has chosen. So our soul comes with a contract. Our soul kind of, this is my belief anyway, and what I hear, so this is why I believe it, is our souls come with a purpose and a contract to learn. And so it chooses the family that we're born into in order to help us to learn and grow in whatever way we need to learn and grow. Well, sometimes that's really great. We have a wonderful family, and sometimes it's not so great. We have a family that's struggling. What I'm hearing is two things on that. When we're thinking about, okay, there's two separate messages happening, so I'm going to go into one and then I'll go into the other. So one is about our chosen family, one is about our blood family. So I'm going to start with the chosen family one. Is to not underestimate the power of our chosen family. The reason why is because our intuition is on high. It's guiding us. It's saying, okay, I need to learn, and I need support, and I need to be loved, and I need to belong, and I need to grow. And so your intuition is on high, and finding those people that are your family, that are your people. And what I'm hearing is don't underestimate that. It's easy for us to get caught in the land of comparison. I was just trying to hear the right words, where we're, wishing that we had, certain situations or certain family or certain, don't underestimate the value of your chosen family. And I just heard even this is a form of our chosen family. We choose to come here and meet every Sunday, right? There's a bunch of us that are here. Well, I'm here every week, but there's a bunch of us that come every Sunday. It's like, a family Sunday dinner. We're all over the world right now. So some of us it's evening, some of us it's morning, some of it's mid-afternoon, but we've all come together like this. And there's an element of family here, right? In that I didn't personally select and say, you come, you come, you come, and you come. We've chosen to all be here at this period of time. In this moment of time, we've chosen to be here. And so we are a form of a family. Certain friends are your family. Certain work colleagues are your family. And family, sometimes you get along great, sometimes you don't. That is part of family. But what I'm hearing is don't underestimate the power of the connection of family. And I'm not just talking your blood family. This is the bigger context, this family. So when you are looking for connection, when you are seeking that sense of roots and belonging, so now I'm feeling it shift down into the root center. When you're searching for those roots, who am I? Where do I come from? Like, what do I bring? Where do I land? Where do I stand? Don't forget to factor in your chosen family into that, because we are a product of our upbringing and our families, but we are also connected to our chosen family. We're also connected to this greater community that we are choosing sometimes to be a part of. So don't underestimate that. The other part that I was hearing is in terms of our blood family. Okay, so our blood family, again, don't underestimate the power and the connection of our blood family. Now, this is interesting, is what I'm hearing. Is, like I said, we're born into so I'm just getting a bunch of like blah, blah, blah information. We're born into certain families. We choose certain families so that we can grow and learn and be raised and have the learnings and the challenges and the struggles and the celebrations and the other connections and maybe the cultural as well as the epigenetics, the ancestors, because our bodies that we're born into also carry all the I just heard the beautiful words, rhythms of our ancestors. I love that wording. The messaging I hear is so poetic compared to like how I speak, so I love it. But the rhythms of our ancestors, we are connected to on a cellular DNA level. It's interesting because I hear that messaging all the time, and then not too long ago, studies about epigenetics has started to come out, and I was like, okay, that's what I've been hearing the whole time. So you've been born into these families. Now, every single person, and this is what's important. This is the important messaging. I'm getting like kind of like flashy, like, like shining signs on this one. Every single person in your family, in your blood family, what makes you up in this skin suit, okay? Because we've got our skin suit life, and then we have our deeper soul, timeless timeline part that chose this particular skin suit. What I'm hearing is every single person in your family that made up the genetics of this skin suit had something to contribute to you, that had something to contribute to the making of you. So we can all think of people in our families that we admire and value and love and think are great and look up to. And then we can think of people in our families that are like, well, they did this or they did that, or they struggled with this or they struggled with that. What I'm hearing to remind you is every single person that you come from, every single person that helped to make you up, good, bad, ugly, great, celebrate, challenge, whatever, has helped to construct you. The reason why you're constructed this way with those skills, talents, and strengths is so that you can grow from them and learn from them. Now, everybody is on a journey. You come here on a journey. Your soul has said, this is the body and that the life I'm going to inhabit. They all came on their journeys. Sometimes we're really successful on our journeys and we learn, and sometimes we're not as successful on our journeys and we're not learning. Every single person, and this is something to remember, not just beyond our own families, but when we encounter every single human on this planet, every person comes here with a purpose and a meaning. Every person comes here with a desire to learn, a soul that is trying to grow. What happens along the way are the challenges, the struggles, the interconnections, the different things that sometimes is very hard to rise out of. And the thing that I'm being told to remind you is that nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to ruin someone's life today, right? I'm going to make really bad choices that are going to mess me up today. No one does that, right? There are situations, there are circumstances, there are health factors, there are cultural factors, there's family factors, there's societal factors, there's all these different things that create the swirling soup of potential. And that swirling soup of potential can go in so many different ways. The potential to make choices that inadvertently affect people negatively, the potential to make choices that inadvertently affect people positively. The key word I'm hearing there is inadvertently. Everyone is here on their own journey. How everyone else is affected by their journey is not conscious. I'm purposely going to make a bad choice and whatever hurt this person, right? So what I'm hearing on that is to recognize that you are made of all of the strengths of all of those people. And everybody, whether they rose and are someone that you admire, or whether they fell and there's someone that you're frustrated with or have been challenged by, there are certain strengths and certain journeys and reasons that they behaved and acted in the way that they did that is a part of you that can be celebrated. Okay. Yes, we get bad habits from our families as well. I know I have attention deficit for sure. And I can see it in my granddaughter. And I'm like, okay, I can see the challenges you're going to have as a result. However, she's also inheriting my strengths in terms of overcoming the challenges of that. She's also inheriting my strengths in terms of being able to be creative and a problem solver and recognize that we're all flawed in some way, right? So no matter how difficult somebody in your family might be, there are certain strengths and certain, what's the word I'm hearing? It's like rising above. I'm just getting the image, like elevation. There's ways that we can, that rise from the people that we are made from. So when you are feeling, weak or not sure, or, even resentful sometimes, it's like, why was my mother like that? Or why was my father like that? Or why was this or that, right? Even when we're feeling maybe resentful, what I'm hearing is asking us to understand the greater context of family, and that the purpose of family is to make us. The purpose of family is to make us, both physically and the epigenetics and the ancestral connections and the learnings and the culture and who we are. And so what I'm hearing is that to try and find celebration in that, try to find ways to celebrate your family, right? And who shaped you, right? Whether it was good or bad. I'm very fortunate in that I have now a close relationship with my family. My sister and I are absolutely polar opposites and really did not get along well growing up. I'm sure that, we both have suffered some damage from that, but we have now come to a beautiful understanding of acceptance of who we are. And now when I need to, and this is the example I'm here to tell you, okay, full circle. I thought I was just telling you a story. But now when I need to think very logically and sequentially, I will connect with my sister, or even with my sister's energy. What would my sister do in this situation? How would my sister break down this problem? Because then I can look at it very, systematically and sequentially. She, in turn, when she needs to feel into something, when she needs to have an understanding of something that she can't understand just with logic and sequential thinking, she will connect with my energy, and she will think, well, what would Nancy say about this? What would Nancy feel about this? And she's learning to tap into her intuition. I'm learning to tap into my logic. So I'm hearing to share that example because it's not even about, like, I wouldn't even have to connect with my sister if I didn't want to. I wouldn't have to have that relationship with her if I didn't want to. It's about, channeling, internalizing, integrating their energy, their way of thinking, their strength, recognizing that, my sister has that particular strength. She recognizes my strength, and we don't even have to necessarily connect on it, but it's allowing that to recognize that it's a part of us. So I'm hearing that when we're thinking about our families, to allow ourselves to recognize what we've been given, both, from the positive side, right? Granted, when you've been given struggles by your family, that's really hard. However, what I'm hearing is to think of it as you're on your journey, choosing this family, learning from this family in order to grow, for your soul to evolve, for your soul to elevate out of these situations. And then in turn, you have all of their history and genetic history and epigenetics to allow you to grow in the way that you need to grow, which is our own soul evolution. So there we go. Just going to digest that for a second. It's interesting. Okay, well, I was going to tell you a story, and then I heard to go a different direction than where I was going with that. So in my family, I have 2 biological children, and then I have 2 children that I took on. That one I took on when he was 9. He's now, 27, 28. And another one I took on when she was 16. She's now 26. And they're my children, they're just my children, and now my granddaughter. It's interesting because when this is the story I was told to tell you, not where I was going to go with it, but this is the story I was told to tell you. When I was 19, I saw a psychic. I went to a psychic fair, and I saw a psychic, and he looked at my hand. I can't remember exactly where. People that maybe know palmistry could tell you, but he looked at my hand somewhere here, and I was 19, and he said, "Yeah, you're gonna have 2 children, but then there's a third, and it's there, but then it's not there. Maybe it dies." And I'm like, why would you tell a 19-year-old they're gonna have a child that dies? Like, Anyway, when I look back on that, I realized that that was probably my son, who, came to me when he was 9. And he has just been so fully integrated into me and my family, to the point that he actually looks more like my biological children than my biological children look like me. Like he's just part of my family. And so what I'm hearing, and this goes with our chosen family, that we have the ability to ask for what you need. So this is the next bit of messaging coming in. You have the ability to ask for what you need. If you need love and support, you can ask your intuition to help you find and set up situations to find love and support. Perhaps you need just some fun, that maybe life is a bit heavy. And I say this because I needed that. I needed just some fun. Life was a bit heavy, really. I try to be lighthearted, but sometimes it was getting a little heavy. And then I've been beautifully integrated to this wonderful group of women that just like to go out and try and do different things, and we have a good time. And so you can, by looking into yourself, and this is the messaging part, by looking into yourself and recognizing where are the gaps, where are the holes, what is it that I need, right? What has not been fulfilled for me by my family, by my biological family or the family I was born into or raised into? Where are the gaps and the holes? And maybe it's connection. Maybe it's true acceptance. Maybe it's being heard. Maybe it's just some fun, some lack of seriousness, maybe, whatever it is. But what I'm hearing is that you can call out for that. So what I'm hearing is it's all energy and vibration. And as you call out, your soul says, this is what I need to help navigate this lifetime. Your chosen family will show up. Even at the very least, right now in this space and time, we're on Insight Time, we're all together, we're all here to elevate ourselves in some capacity. This is a aspect of family. We're here to elevate. So this is a group of people that have come together to try and elevate our own consciousness. So it's a perfect accumulation of family. So I'm hearing that, okay, don't despair. That's what I heard. Don't despair. If the family that you've been given, that your soul chose to be born into or be raised by, has not fully fulfilled their obligation for whatever reason, their own health, their own issues, their own journeys, whatever it is, that you can find those people that then fill that gap. So don't underestimate the value of family, both the value of what you've been given from your blood family or what you've been raised in, as well as your chosen family. Don't underestimate the power that they have to help you on your journey. Okay. On the flip side, there's always like, and if you turn that on its head, the thing to remember as well is that your intuition is guiding you. Your intuition, your soul has come here and said, this is what I need to learn. For me, pretty sure I had a serious contract on boundary setting. And it said, okay, this body, this person is going to be challenged in every way possible about boundaries. And sure enough, yes, I have found every possible situation to be challenged by boundaries. Boundary setting. So we have to remember that our intuition is trying to help us. So some of those situations that we get into, that we find ourselves in, and we're like, but it felt like it was so right. It felt like I was supposed to be there. It felt like this connection was supposed to happen, and I was supposed to take that job, or I was supposed to da-da-da. And then it turns into a terrible situation. And then you think, I can't trust my intuition. That's actually not true. Your intuition has purposely helped you to find the exact scenario that you needed in order to evolve and become strong. Now, that sometimes people get their back up. I can even feel myself going, but I didn't choose, blah, blah, blah. But when I think about it, right, from a totally esoteric perspective, no, I didn't choose my daughter's illness. I absolutely didn't. Um, and if I could choose something different, I would in a heartbeat. However, right, what I have learned and how I have grown, and especially what I am continuing to learn in terms of boundary setting, letting go, non-attachment, recognizing her journey is hers, mine is mine. So yes, I hate her illness and I hate that this is a part of it, but I also recognize that there is a value in it, in that if I can have that perspective, and it doesn't change the illness, I can't take the illness away. So I can choose to rail against it and be upset and let down and resentful and why me, why did this happen, why did this happen to her, and I can go there and I can live in that space, and it's not going to take the illness away. Or I can accept that this is part of our journey and part of the choices our souls made for whatever reason to have these experiences, hopefully to rise above and to overcome in whatever capacity that is. And that gives us with a little bit of hope. That gives us a little bit of guidance. That gives us a little bit of inspiration. Still doesn't change the illness, right? What's there is there. So you can choose whether to look at it this way or this way. And that goes with any bad situation in our lives. When we have, crappy things that happen to us and we feel like it just sort of happened and just stumbled upon, and we're like, well, why? If I'm aware and I'm meditating and I'm third eye open, why am I finding these situations? Well, again, you can accept it, be sad about it. I'm not saying false positivity. Feel what you feel. I say that all the time to my granddaughter. I understand you have some big feelings about this, and I understand you're feeling this way. What will it take to start coming out of those feelings, honoring those feelings? But now what will it take to come out of those feelings so that you can move forward, right? And so when these crappy things happen, or when just situations are what they are, even within ourselves, whatever, if we can try and have that greater perspective, that bigger, multi-lifetime, timeless perspective, what am I learning from this situation right now? And I think most of us can agree that, the hardest situations in our lives are the ones that we learn from the most, and that we grew from the most. As much as they may have broken us at the time, if you rise above them, they're the ones that you grow from the most. And not that I'm advocating go find terrible situations, because nobody wants that, and I'm not saying, yay, you had bad situations, because I'm not. I wish wholeheartedly for all of you that you have absolutely blessed and beautiful lives, and I mean that with every fiber of my being. But if I had the magic power, I don't, but if I had that magic power where I could somehow erase all of your problems and all of your complications, would I really be doing you a service? Would I really actually be helping you? Because yes, I'd love to. I love to wipe the slate clean for my daughter. I would, more than anything, I wish I could just wipe that slate clean and have her be whole and healthy and vibrant, right? I can't do that, right? And for some reason, her soul has chosen this journey. So who am I to take that away, right? And so we need to have that perspective. So if you're having challenges, if you're having tricky times, recognize that I just heard, just like what I say to my granddaughter, acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge the situation, acknowledge the position, allow yourself to feel what you need to feel about it, and then ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do now to slowly or quickly move myself out of this painful place, right? Doesn't mean it's going to go away. Okay, I'm here to tell you a story. So I have a scar on my arm. I don't know if you can see it right there. It's pretty nasty in real life, but oh, there you go. You can kind of see it. I have a scar on my arm. It was from making lasagnas. I was making lasagnas, and I put my arm into the hands into the oven to pull out the lasagna, and my arm touched the top of the oven, and it was a pretty nasty burn, very nasty burn. So I have this scar. Well, my granddaughter was talking about something that hurt her heart recently. And she said, I think it's kind of like the scar on your arm. And I said, how so? She's like, because it really hurt at the time, but now I can still see it. It's still there. And I can remember that it hurt, but it doesn't actually hurt anymore. It's just to remember that it hurts. And I thought, how beautiful and how wise. And that's what I'm hearing in terms of sharing with you, that at some point, these really painful things become scars. They leave marks, some, bigger than others, but, they leave marks. But at some point, if we heal and work at moving forward, then eventually they're marks that we can remember from the pains, but they're not. Whereas if I had kept picking at the scar and picking at the scar and picking at the scar, maybe getting it infected, whatever, I'm okay. I just heard, even then you'll heal eventually. Isn't that interesting? I was thinking in my mind as I was talking, you keep picking at the scar, you'll never heal. But I actually heard, contrary to that even if you keep picking open that scar, even if you keep reliving those wounds, you will eventually heal. It's just going to take longer, because we are designed to heal, are the words that I'm hearing. We are all designed to heal. And yes, our physical bodies sometimes don't heal from different illnesses and whatnot, but we are all designed to heal on some capacity. Okay, so I actually just heard, this is interesting messaging. Okay, so I just heard. This is tricky. This is a tricky one. I'm struggling with this one, but okay, I'm just going to say what I'm hearing. Even not healing is healing, is what I just heard. That what we perceive as healing is not necessarily what the plan is in terms of our soul. And sometimes people are born into bodies that can't heal. And that sometimes healing, this is a tricky one, sometimes healing is a release of that soul. And so sometimes when bodies are unable to heal, the release of the soul is also a form of healing. And that the attachment to our physical body is something that I just heard you humans, I'm not sure where that's coming from, you humans need to work on, is that our attachment to our physical bodies, that our physical bodies allow us to live the lives that we need to live, do the work that we need to do the learning that we need to do, evolve in the way that we need to evolve. And then at some point, we no longer need these physical bodies. And so that's what I'm hearing as the messaging. I'm struggling with that a little bit right now. If I'm honest, as I'm hearing that messaging, I'm like, yeah, but I do understand the wisdom of it. I'm glad I record these, because I'm going to have to listen to that again, because I definitely, my Nancy body is having some resistance to that messaging. But like I encourage any of you, sometimes when there's messaging that you might feel a resistance to, I always try and sit with it. Why am I resisting that message? Why am I struggling to hear that wisdom? What do I not want to know, kind of thing. But yeah, that's what I'm hearing, is that healing takes different forms, and it's not always what we think. All right. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of tea and then see what else we have for messaging. And I should probably check the chat, because it's been moving and I haven't looked. Carol, we're not starting just yet with individual readings. I'm going to see if there's any more collective messaging. There's usually kind of one or two more, and then I will start taking names for individual readings. Just for those of you that are just coming on, that's how I work it. I do collective messaging for everybody. And then halfway through, I tap in for individuals. And even with the individuals, what I asked, like in terms of my guides, your guides, our connection, I asked that as people are putting their names forward, it may not be the most pressing thing that you're dealing with, but it's the thing that the most people here also need to hear. So if I do individual readings, then I tap in just for you. But this one is like what's important for everybody to hear. So it's kind of like in a classroom. One person puts their hand up, other people probably have the same question. All right. Hello, Jacqueline. Happy Sunday. And yes, T-Bear scars fade. They do eventually. It takes a long time sometimes. Depends on how much we pick at them and pay attention to them. Thank you, Nancy. Needed to hear that. Dealing with narcissistic abuse from husband and son. Oh, goodness. It's funny, Lulu, that you say that, because that is a perfect example of what I was talking about. I also dealt with narcissistic abuse and still do sometimes. And I've often asked, like, why did I have to go through that? But now I realize how empathetic I'm able to be to others that are dealing with it, and I can help others understand and heal because I've been through it, and so sometimes the crappiest things that we're given are the things that actually end up giving us strength. So I hope that you continue to rise, Lulu, and that continue to heal and continue to learn from this crappy situation. And not that it's your role or responsibility to teach or help others, but it does allow you to have a certain degree of empathy and a different frame of mind. Thank you, Carol, for the donation. I really appreciate that. I always appreciate your hearts, your love, you showing up, and donations, of course, are always appreciated. I'm just looking back here, seeing some truths, but I'm not sure what I was talking about at that moment. Sorry, I don't really pay attention to the chat while I'm doing so. If I don't comment, it's not that I don't love what you said or care about what you said. It's just I'm concentrating on what I'm hearing and I don't always see. So just know that I'm not ignoring you. Trouble with the app and app updates. Yeah, Carolina, I've been having some trouble too. I was trying to find my own because I'm making like a paper copy of some of my free flow journal writing things. I'm trying to make like a paper version of it, and I went back to listen to it and I couldn't find it. And I did eventually, but it did take some digging. All right, let's check in last bit of messaging before I jump into individuals. What am I hearing for the group? Okay, we've had this one before, but I think it's a good message. Right away, I had two things that came up, and it was the song. I mean, I've got a 6-year-old granddaughter, so Frozen is a thing in my home. And I right away heard, let it go, let it go. And then I also heard don't take it personally. So again, we have a choice. We're on this journey. When we encounter things that are not helpful or problematic, or things that are challenging, that we're learning from, that we're growing from, it's really important that we let it go when the learning is done. So when we have internalized what it's trying to teach us, that we've grown, we've done it, it's important then to let that go. Hearing to tell you a story. So this is one of my favorite Zen stories. I think it's a Zen story. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But one of my favorite Zen stories is of two monks walking on a journey, and they get to a river, and there's a woman at the river who's trying to cross the river, and she needs some help because she doesn't want to get wet and whatnot. So the older monk puts her on his back and carries her piggyback style across the river. And so they get across the river, and he puts her down. But the whole way across the river, she's nagging at him, like, you're not going fast enough, and my skirt's getting wet, and la, 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 and, complaining, and that, like, yelling at him and complaining, and then he lets her down, and she just walks off, doesn't say thank you, and, kind of huffs at, now the edge of her skirt's wet, and, and anyway, they kept on their journey, and the younger monk at some point says, why didn't you teach that lady a lesson? Why didn't you talk to her about gratitude? Why didn't you try to teach her at that point? And the older monk says, I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? And that story I find very impactful, because I think a lot of times, we hold on to this bad thing, this bad thing, this bad thing, this bad thing. And it's important to learn and not repeat mistakes. There's certain things where it's like, okay, this person has done the same thing 3 times. They're probably not going to change. But I have a choice. I can stay in relationship with this person. I can change my relationship with this person. I can remove myself from this person, right? And after you make the action that you need to make, it's important then that you let go of the anger, the resentment, the need for being right, the need for revenge, the need for being right, I just heard, is very important. We need to remove the need for being right. Make the choice you need to make so that you set proper boundaries, so that you look after yourself and you do what you need to do to look after yourself, and then end it there. Let it go. Let it go. You don't need to be right. You don't need to continue. You don't need to make it worse. You don't need to make it better. It just let it go and walk away from it. Just like the monk put the lady down, she walked off. He stopped thinking about her. He's not burdened by her anymore, right? It's important that once we make a decision, once we make a choice, once we do something, that we let it go. And don't let that anger, that resentment bring you down, because all that's going to do is lower your vibration. Take what you need as learning, absolutely, so you don't repeat mistakes. I'm the queen of repeating patterns. So actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I used to be. I have grown and learned, and I'm working very hard on that. Words have power. So I'm not going to give that power. But that's what I'm hearing, is that if it's not directly affecting you at this moment in time, and now what I'm hearing is to clarify, directly affecting you means that you are immediately in conflict or confronted by this situation, not all the feelings that are coming up from it. If you are directly being affected by it, then deal with it. But once you've dealt with it, then you also have to work at letting go of the feelings and emotions around it. Continue the learning, internalize the learning so that you're aware and don't stumble into it again, although you probably will, because, well, I shouldn't say that. You might, because if your intuition is trying to teach you something on, let's say, boundary setting, like me, I keep finding situations where I need to learn to set boundaries. I just happen to fall into them because that's what I'm learning. However, I'm getting much better at it. I'm getting much stronger at it. It is a constant process that I'm learning. And as a result, I'm finding less and less challenges to that, because I'm letting that go. So once you have done the learning, let it go. Let it go. Don't let it lower your vibration. Don't let it burden you. Visualize that argument, that statement, that cheating spouse, that boss that manipulated something, that negative comment, whatever it was. Treat that as the lady that he was carrying. Is there any point in him continuing to carry her beyond the river? No. Put it down. If there's no point to be carrying it, then put it down. That's what I'm hearing. So any situations right now that are like that, they're feeling heavy, let it go. Let it go, and don't internalize. It just brings you down. It doesn't change anything. It just brings you down. So let it go. Easier said than done, I know, right? This is messaging from the great beyond, from our collective souls mixed with some divine consciousness. And sometimes it's like, yeah, great. Harder to do. But that's why we're on a journey. And sometimes it's easier than other times. All right. So stop my recording.